Hello there, fellow pellet burners. Today we're going to talk about draft fan removal, maintenance, cleaning, and give you a good idea how to pull the unit out in two separate parts. And we'll move on to the back of the furnace now and show you what you need to do to pull it out. Alrighty, here you see the back end of the US Model 8500 stove. Here is your draft fan. As you know, if you've been watching the videos, you got an oiling cap right up here. In order to remove the draft fan for cleaning, you don't need to take this base off here, which is the shroud. You remove these nuts off of these studs around the back side, disconnect the two wires going to your motor, and you can pull this unit right off of the shroud, which will enable you to clean the rotor assembly in there and service this fan, which should be done, it depends how many pellets you burn a year. If you notice your unit start to vibrate a little bit, chances are you have soot accumulation on the fan rotor down in the bottom, and it's creating an imbalanced situation. And we're going to take a look at that right now. Okay, here you see what we have is a whole assembly. Here's your shroud, here's your draft fan, and we're just going to spin these off here. I normally don't remove the shroud. I'll just take the draft fan off the shroud assembly and surface it from there. It's pretty simple. Now, you're not going to see the gasket on this particular unit because I've had this off already. Normally it comes stock from the factory with a little fiber gasket here. Once you pull the draft fan off, these gaskets are not reusable, as are the gasket on the bottom, which is the same type. If you remove your draft fan from the shroud, there's no need to disturb the gasket on the bottom. Here is the back side here. This one's already been somewhat cleaned, but you can see how the soot and the fly ash sticks to this fan rotor assembly here. And these blades here will get accumulation of the fly ash, and it could cause the imbalance, and also it will decrease the efficiency of the fan itself. So the best thing to use is a little paintbrush or a scraper. Normally a paintbrush will take it off, and then I use a air hose with a nozzle and blow this whole assembly off. Now you can also check, when you have this off, the end play on your unit. This particular draft fan has what I would call a little excessive end play. You can also see it in the cooling fan by the motor there. This is still serviceable, but you're just going to want to check that. The tighter these are, the better your fan runs. And the trick is too to have it to where you have it oiled well. Now I use a different type of oil for this. It's a turbine oil, paraffin base, and it's I'll show you the tube of that here in just a sec. Now the type of oil that I prefer to use is made by High Side Chemical, and this is what it looks like. It's got a zoom spout. I believe you can get this online. Our local hardware store handles this. It's a high temperature paraffin based oil, and it doesn't gum up the bearings, and it takes the heat. It's got a very high temperature rating on it. Now when you oil, of course, when you oil your draft fan, you're going to want to just put a couple drops in it, and I'll show you here. And you just take, and you do this on the unit itself when it's running. I like to do it, oil the fan about every 30 days, and it will keep this fan spinning real nice, keep it lubricated, and you'll get a long life out of this fan. Now, to assemble this fan, if you like, you can order the fiber gasket from US Stove and replace that. What I do is scrape the residue off of this flange. And I use a standard automotive ultra copper gasket maker you can pick up at your auto store. And once you get this flange cleaned real well, and clean it, once you get the fiber scraped off, clean it with some lacquer thinner or MEK, let it dry, and then apply a thin coating of the ultra copper around this flange here. On your shroud, you want to clean the fiber gasket off. Once again, use lacquer thinner or solvent to make sure it's clean. And then I take and put a little bit of oil, regular motor oil, on my finger and smear a nice film all the way around this edge. Don't worry about getting too much of it on. The oil will burn off once this gets hot. Once you put the film around this edge, you can put your draft fan back on, and it only goes on one spot. These are staggered. And then take your nuts and put them back on the studs and snug it down. Now the oil film on the one surface will allow for you to remove this next time without it sticking. It will come right off. And then you can redress the surface area the next time that you put it on. So that's basically cleaning and maintaining your draft fan assembly, and it's up to you how often you do that. You'll notice, like I said before, you'll feel a little bit of vibration if those rotor vanes in there are getting plugged up. So that's what you need to do. Take care of your unit, and your stove will take care of you.